Welcome back, everyone, to our webinar series, Innovating Volusia County Businesses. Today's speaker is Lou Paris. Lou is a long-term friend of the incubator, family friend, is the best friend ever. And he's going to be talking about how to succeed in Amazon. Lou is the director of the entrepreneurship program at Stetson University. In addition, Lou also is the founder of a multi-million-dollar company that focuses on the development and commercialization of products on Amazon. So Lou, please welcome and tell us more about yourself, how you got into this Amazon deal, and tell us everything, because I know everybody wants to sell in Amazon and they think it's easy, but I hear it's like yes and no. Okay, so all yours.
Thank you for that introduction, Connie. And let me share my screen so I can go over everything you asked for. So let's see, this and boom. Can you confirm that you see, hold on, let me go in presentation mode. Do you see a gray screen with a hi on it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So hi. Here's the agenda for today's presentation. I think it's important, and I think it's fair to you to show you first the reality of selling on Amazon. Everyone wants to sell on Amazon, but as Connie, as you indicated, it is not necessarily an easy task. It can be challenging. And so because I want to end this presentation in a positive note, I would like to start with the bad and the very ugly side of selling on Amazon. I will talk to you about who is Amazon for. What kind of skills and traits are ideal for Amazon sellers. I'll give you some data on this too. Then I will show you how you can identify a product to sell on Amazon. Then I will talk about how to launch it and rank it on Amazon. That's probably the most important piece of the puzzle. I'll talk briefly about brand registry and the logistic aspect of conducting business on Amazon. I will share with you a couple of case studies. I will give you, and both are mine, meaning both are my products. One is positive, meaning I've had a positive outcome with this product or family of products. And then I'll show you a negative case study where we were not successful. I will briefly talk about the exit strategy, potential outcomes that you can experience from working with Amazon, and that will be hopefully a positive finish. And I'll say this, that I don't claim to know everything, but I know enough to be dangerous. And so I hope that there's a nugget of information in this agenda that will help you with your path to becoming an Amazon seller. Connie introduced me already. I'll briefly tell you that in running the entrepreneurship program at Stetson University, I get to hear a lot of ideas. And I'll say that not all of them, not all the ideas that I hear are good ideas for Amazon. Amazon works a specific way and benefits specific kinds of products, which we'll talk about. But again, I want to give you this information about myself so you understand a little bit the context in which I'm giving this information. I was very open and honest with you that I don't know everything. In fact, I know plenty of people who know more about selling on Amazon than I do, but at least I can give you a good kickstart. I've been selling on Amazon very aggressively. At least over the last couple of years. I have currently two kinds of doormats. I have glow-in-the-dark stars, and I have a card game. And I'll talk about these products later on in the presentation. This is just an introduction to show you I'm doing it, I'm living it. I understand the challenges of working with Amazon, and so hopefully that has some weight in validating my statements. Okay, hold on. Boom, okay. Okay, so the bad and the ugly. And the first one, and I'm very blunt about this, Amazon wants to destroy you. I say this because Amazon has, let me start with the history. The reason why sellers, independent sellers exist on Amazon is because Amazon can't possibly hold all the inventory of all the different products that exist on Amazon. If you have ever seen the logo of Amazon, there's like a little smiley face, like a little line that goes from the A to the Z. The A to the Z denotes that you're selling, that they're attempting to sell everything. Imagine the cost of holding inventory for all those things. And they were brilliant in thinking, hold on, if we get other people involved, sellers, they carry the cost of the inventory and we're simply the platform where that is sold. So it gives them, the value proposition that they seek, which is to sell everything at the lowest possible operational cost, because they're putting that burden on us, the sellers. Now, why do they want to destroy us? Because to the extent that they grow, to the extent that they have more money and they can afford more inventory, they will. And to that extent, they will take you out. That has happened plenty of times. You probably know Amazon Essentials as a brand. That brand actively scouts products that already sell well on Amazon, and they simply replicate the product and sell it for a lower price. And it's really difficult to compete against that. I'll say this, they have already been punished for doing that in the EU, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, at some point, there was some kind of legislation in the US that would stop Amazon from doing that. Mm-hmm. So sorry to put it so bluntly, but you have to understand, I think if you understand the rules of engagement up front, then you're better equipped to engage in this path. There's no one to talk to. By this I mean, if you're in a B2B scenario and you, even a B2C, and a problem happens, you have someone to talk to usually. You can call another company, you have a representative and have a conversation. And yes, Amazon does have representatives, but they're ill-equipped, and I mean this, very ill-equipped to handle those technical issues that arise from day-to-day operations. It's very very concerning. I'm not going to say all, but most of their force, their customer or seller support staff is overseas, specifically in India. And I think it's a pity what Amazon is doing to them, because they don't give them the proper tools to be able to help sellers like us, like me. They usually, every time I call, they're very difficult to get an answer. Oftentimes you get the wrong answer. In fact, today we're having this conversation and I had this experience one more time. And I think it's a pity because the staff, you can tell they're bright people. They just don't have the tools to be able to help the sellers. It's a black box. Amazon, the ranking system and everything in Amazon is, it works with an algorithm, and that algorithm is invisible to you and me. It's a black box, and very few people, even people who work at Amazon, don't really know how it works. So can you imagine the challenge of working under those conditions? It's tough. There's zero accountability. Amazon, if they do something to you or if something happens to you, they will not answer for it. They will not care. Again, I'm not saying this to make you upset. I'm simply telling you this because if that's a rule of the game and you understand it up front, you're better equipped to handle and conduct business on Amazon. And ultimately, I love the way, so I met this young man who sells a lot online, and we were talking about his selling strategy. He does a lot of drop shipping, and he sells mostly through Shopify, his own website. And I asked him, do you sell anything on Amazon? He looked at me, he tilted his head, and he said, are you kidding me? That's like competing against a referee. And it's true. They make the rules. They own the playground. You're competing against them. And if it comes to a fight between you and them, they will always win. So I'm giving you the very, very ugly up front. I don't be discouraged yet. I will share with you other bits of information that will give you some balance and context to these points. So there have been multiple interviews to Amazon sellers, and here's some of their concerns. I don't know if you can read them well on the screen, but I'll go over them with you. Um, Most people agree that Amazon is a great place to go buy things. You and I have probably gone more than once to buy a product on Amazon, and the experience has been positive. You get delivery basically 7 days a week. You can rest assured that you're not going to be tricked in a purchase. You will get what you bought, and if you don't, you'll get your money back. And so from the perspective of a buyer, it is a phenomenal platform. And to that extent, Amazon sellers, 86% of Amazon sellers believe that it's a good platform to go buy something. But conversely, the same Amazon sellers believe that, so only 58% of the people who sell on Amazon believe that the platform is good for sellers. And I'm yet to meet an Amazon seller who is in good terms or in a happy relationship with Amazon. Every person I meet, they have had along the way some kind of grievance, and they don't have very nice or kind things to say about Jeff Bezos, and I'll be one of those. So notice that drastic drop, that roughly half of the people who sell on Amazon believe that it's not a good platform for sellers. I mean, that they treat you well and so forth. So what are some of the top concerns as it pertains to selling on Amazon? About 3/4, so 76% of sellers are concerned about Amazon shutting their account down without any reason. It has happened to me. It has happened to most people that I know. And when we say without reason, I mean it, we mean it. It happens in the most random and crazy way. And it takes a great effort to be reinstated. It happened to us with a ton of inventory. We were shut down for a reason that was not even ours. Just not to get into details, but in this particular case, Amazon had fulfilled a return order that was defective, and they should have stopped that order from going out. And then they blocked us because that order had gone out. So when we tell them, hey, this is not our fault because you're fulfilling all the product, you are the one doing the fulfillment work. This is your responsibility. Of course, they don't care about that. They laughed. They asked us for a plan for this to never happen again. So we had to basically write fiction, about 20 pages worth of fiction, saying how we were going to solve a problem that was not ours in the first place, to be able to be reinstated. We lost a week of time. So that problem is a very tangible, very real issue, a very strong reality. About half the sellers on Amazon say that it is a concern for them that Amazon competes against them directly. And here's the thing, they control advertising. They control the ranking. So do you really think that Amazon will put itself at the same level as you competing on Amazon? They're not. They're basically going to always outpace you. And they talk about concerns about privacy and security. Honestly, that hasn't been my concern so far. But anyhow, as it pertains to China, many manufacturers are concerned about products coming from China or sourcing their product in China. I'm telling you this, and I had all my products made there except one was from India. Now I'm shifting all my production to India. And I'll talk about the details about that in a little moment. And of course, that is directly tied to the discussion about tariffs. Products coming in from China, not all of them, but depending on the category, they face a hefty tariff. On the doormats, I pay about 25% tariff. And I understand why the current administration is doing it, because really, having worked with China enough, I understand how dirty they can play. So I'm not naive as to why this was implemented. I don't fight it. I simply understand the rules of engagement. Again, it's a negative thing, but I know how to deal with it. And my answer has been, let me move operations to India. But ultimately, they are the biggest market in the world. You want sales volume, you want to achieve high profits, they are it. You need to be on Amazon to sell large amounts. If you're like me, I have a Prime account, and most of my sales, especially lately, purchases, have been on Amazon, okay? So who is it for? I'm going to describe the profile of the typical person who would be best suited to engage sales on Amazon. You have a product that already exists. Let me explain what this means. If you invented something that is novel, that doesn't exist quite in the market yet, something that is new, a very, a new widget, whatever that is, Amazon is probably not the best platform for you, okay? Ideally, you want to launch a product that already is found on Amazon and it already sells well, okay? So right now, if you're listening to this and you already have in your mind a product idea, something you want to sell on Amazon, stop for a moment, listen to the rest of the presentation with an open heart, open mind, and you'll see why that may not make sense. Maybe you're lucky and maybe the product that you have in mind would be a good fit, but let me say it is not necessarily always the case. You are exceptional at following steps. This selling on Amazon is kind of like a scientific process, or like following a cooking recipe. If you follow every step carefully, your chances of success go exponentially up. If you don't, then your chances of success dramatically drop. So if you're exceptional at following steps, if you're good at paperwork, and following, if you ever dealt with the government and had to, file papers left and right, then you're probably well suited for this, okay? You are analytical and with multiple skills. What do I mean by this? Performing well on Amazon involves looking at a lot of data and understanding what you're looking at. If you're able to see data and grasp, what it means, then you are ideal for this kind of environment. Do you have to be creative? Very little. I mean, you don't really need to have a strong creative vein to succeed in this platform. You just have to, again, be exceptional at following steps in a very analytical way. What do I mean by multiple skills? Well, I think that you as an individual, one person, can launch a business on Amazon. Ideally, you want to have 2, maybe 3 people with complementary skills to be able to sell well, to perform well on selling on Amazon. As an example, when I sell on Amazon, it's me and my business partner. He is the numbers guy. He's a very analytical person. Without him, I would probably fade away. I am more the creative side, more the marketing mind. And so together, we complement each other very well. And of course, I'm exaggerating. We both dabble very strongly in each other's worlds, and we take on all the responsibilities. But if I were to break our team into 2, I would define our roles as the way I did, okay? So I'm not saying you can't do it alone, but do realize you need multiple skills to do it. Man, you need to have cash or a lot of credit. And I say this because it is a very capital-intensive business. You have to have inventory, okay? And that costs a lot of money. And it costs more money when you're successful because you have to, think about this. If you're successful, you need to grow your inventory. So that means that for every unit that you sell, you have to replace that unit with 2 or 3 units. So it really puts a burden on cash and credit. I'm going to disclose, personally, I have racked up to $100,000 in credit card debt. Credit card, okay? That is scary as it gets, okay? We're talking 15, 20% APR on $100,000. It's a force to reckon with. Of course, I was willing to take on that debt because cash flow was phenomenal. Cash flow has been great. So I'm able to pay credit cards and then some at a quick pace. But when you have to buy the inventory and you have to do it up front, you have basically rarely any other option. Talking to investors and banks for a loan, very difficult. You need to be over 2 years doing the business. They don't like giving money to businesses where they cannot get a hold of the inventory. So even though the inventory is sitting in the US in one or multiple physical locations at a Amazon warehouse, in the most liquid market in the world, Amazon, they still are unwilling to take that chance. So they're not willing to accept it as collateral. So it has to be a secured loan, and you have to, oftentimes they'll ask you for your house, basically. Ideally, this is for someone who's looking for secondary income. By this I mean that if you see this as your sole source of income, it's very risky. Okay, ideally you have a job and you're doing this on the side, or you have a business and this is one of your channels of sales.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, you can stomach extreme emotions. Okay, you go through a roller coaster. 2 days ago, I was riding a high. Yesterday, I sort of hit a low. Today, I'm sort of neutral. In fact, after this presentation, I do have a call pending with Amazon, which I'm curious and intrigued how it will go, because yesterday I thought I made myself abundantly clear. But you need to be able to stomach those ups and downs. They're probably, and having been in more businesses, I would say the swings in Amazon are more extreme than in a normal business, mostly because of the frustration. Because in a normal business, you have a little bit more control of what's going on. In Amazon, it's oftentimes in the hands of Amazon, and there's very little that you can do, and that creates extreme frustration and anxiety. So if you can deal with that, then you're okay. So I'm giving you a very honest and fair description of what the way Amazon is. Okay, so hope I'm not scaring you away. I'm just giving you the reality. If you look at the people who sell on Amazon, sellers, the bulk of them are in private label, meaning that you have identified a product that you want to sell on Amazon. You find someone who's going to make this for you, or you make it yourself. You give it your own name, your own brand name. And so it's your private label. And most of us on Amazon, about 3/4 are just that. There is a little bit of retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, and all those other things, but they're minute. So I would not get into any of the others. And a comment on retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. If you're successful on Amazon, you'll start seeing your product pop up your listing, your pictures, your product will appear, and your brand name will appear on places like eBay. eBay, I've seen at least, at one given time, 16 different offers on my product. Okay, so you need to get ready for that. There's nothing you need to do, nor is it a bad thing. They're doing arbitrage. They're waiting for someone to take a nibble, okay, to buy from their listing on eBay, and then that person will buy from you and pass on. They'll charge a little more to make a profit and pass it on to the customer. So it doesn't affect you. If anything, helps you because you get more visibility. This graph right here shows you the number of products that each seller would have on Amazon at any given point. When I set out to sell on Amazon, I was thinking that I would launch a portfolio of products, and the more I had, the better it would be. Quite frankly, my goal was to be between 21 and 50 products. But I've learned very quickly that it's not necessarily feasible. I mean, it's very difficult to accomplish. I'm on the first line, 1 to 5. So most of us find ourselves there. And the reason why it's difficult is because there's 2 reasons. I said before that this business is capital intensive. If it's capital intensive with 3 products, imagine how much more expensive it would be with 20 or 50 products. I mean, if you're contemplating launching 50 products, you don't need to be listening to this presentation. I recommend that you retire, move to Monaco, and live a very happy, wealthy life, because the amount of money that you need for running 50 products is insane. At the same time, I told you that you needed to be analytic, and you're looking at a lot of data. If 3 to 5 products keep you very busy, 21 to 50 will keep you extremely busy. Of course, at those points, you're probably hiring people to work with you, but getting there is a challenge. I'm not saying I'll never get there, but it just is not in the foreseeable future. I just don't see it. So if you're looking at this, if you're listening to this presentation, you'll probably find yourself in the 1 to 5 range, which is really good, and you'll see how profitable that can be. Mm-hmm. So when I talked about not doing this as your primary source of income, I meant it. Look at this chart. This will show you that most people who sell on Amazon are making money a different way. So in fact, it says here that 21% of everyone who sells on Amazon have that as their primary income. Everyone else, so 79% of the people, have another source of income. They're either retired, or they have a full-time employment, or they're part-time employed, or they have their own business. So I'd recommend that if you get into the business of Amazon, you have a paycheck coming from something else. So I show you, here's a breakdown of the level of education of everyone, all the sellers on Amazon. Notice that there's a strong bias in favor of people who have education. And this is critical. I told you that this business is highly analytical and highly, and it requires different skills. And these are things that you typically find on people who are educated, okay? So, you know, if you're doubting that you have the right skills, you know, and you can't think of a right partner for this, you know, it's something to consider as you move forward. So I've gotten that out of the way. Now I'm going to walk you through the mechanics of what it takes to find a product on Amazon. Like I said before, if you already have an idea, I would recommend that you put that idea to the test. If your idea fits the criteria that I'm about to describe, kudos to you, awesome. Otherwise, there are ways that you can identify a product without having any idea right now of what you should be selling. So to kick it off, I'll show you, these are the top categories, selling categories on Amazon. If you have a product that is meant for the home or the kitchen, man, you're in the right place. And in fact, you know, when I look at my doormats, it makes a lot of sense. This category outpaces every other category by a significant wide margin. That's why there are companies out there like Wayfair. Wayfair exists because they recognized how much money Amazon was making on home and kitchen goods. And then you can work your way down to toys and games, all the way down to, I only show you the top 10 here. So notice that the last one is also home related. It's tools and home improvements. So all of them kind of like are in the same kind of a general area. So hopefully your product is in that category. So here's the three criteria. I'm going to walk you through three criteria of what I look for when I seek a new product to sell on Amazon. First, I look for high sales velocity. This means that I look for product categories where the top sellers are selling a ton of units a month, you know, upwards of 200 ideally. In fact, 200 I would deem to be a low number, especially, well, depending on the value of the product. With the doormats, I probably sell that in 3 days or 4 days. So, you know, you need to find a product that already sells very well. Okay. Keep in mind that when you go on Amazon, the times that you have gone yourself on Amazon to buy something, you already had something specific in mind. You're not browsing to, oh, let me discover a product. You're running specific queries because you're there for a mission. You're there to scout for a price or a specific product to buy. Conversely, those people who have a product that is an invention that that you think no one else has or no one has seen before, you're probably better suited for a platform like Touch of Modern. You may have heard of Touch of Modern. Think about it. If you have seen that platform, you have gone in there not knowing what the heck you're going to find. You're simply scouting for a really cool thing that you hadn't thought of before. Okay. So going back to this, you're looking for Amazon, you're looking for products that already sell very well on that platform. You're looking for a product that at the same time has the least amount of established competition. You can see this by looking at the top 10 sellers on a specific product category, and you look at there should be at least 2, maybe 3 that have less than 50 reviews. If you find that in the top 10, there's 1 or 2 or more sellers that have less than 50 reviews, or maybe even 100, you're in the presence of a category that is very easy to penetrate. Okay, it's easy to launch a product and rank and remain up in the ranking because 50 to 100 reviews, it's a relatively low number of reviews on Amazon. So they're typically, that gives you the indication that it's a new company. And at the same time, so it has to meet all 3 criteria simultaneously. You're looking for a product that has problems. What does this mean? It means that you're looking for a product that has 3.5 stars or less. You know how
Mm.
Amazon gives you, when you buy something, it lets you rank the products 1 to 5 stars. Um, and you probably have gone through this thought process that when you buy a product, you pay attention to the number to the score on the reviews. If you see anything that has less than 4 stars, you are sort of suspicious and you're questioning the quality. And the threshold is typically 3.5 stars. So if the product sells well, it has little established competition, and the product has known problems, that's a product that you want to consider for selling on Amazon.
Mhm.
So how do you find that product? There are several platforms out there that have a lot of data on Amazon, and they have, obviously APIs. They're connected to the entire catalog of products on on Amazon, and they help you use those criteria that I just shared with you to find products that you should consider. Super useful. All the products that I've found to sell on Amazon have been through this platform, through Jungle Scout. I have been very happy with their data. It's extremely useful to find and detect the next product. I love how they say their slogan is something to the effect of, I have 99 problems, but finding a product is not one of them. So kind of cool. So once you find a product, you have probably done about 20% of the work. Where the real heavy lifting comes is with the launching and ranking. So launch and rank is what makes or breaks a seller on Amazon. So there's a specific way to do it, and I'll explain how to do so. When you launch a product, you want to do it with the help of I put 2 here, but there's more. Viral Launch and JumpSend are companies that work closely with Amazon. And what happens is that you bring your inventory, it's sitting already on the Amazon warehouse, and you create your listing, and you connect that listing to either service, Viral Launch or JumpSend, and you heavily discount your product. The times I have done it before, I have done discounts of 70 to 80%. And so what you are accomplishing here is, and by the way, think about the obvious here. If you ever wanted to buy something at a very low price, you can go to those platforms and make a purchase for yourself. Okay, just saying. So you get, you're giving your product away at a loss, basically, because at 70, 80%, you're surely taking a loss on that product. But the important thing here is that you're generating sales. If you generate sales, you come up in the ranks on Amazon. You come up the pages. And I should have said this before, but when you launch a product on Amazon, you're on page 1,000. No one will ever see you, and you will not make a single sell. If you're on page 5 and beyond, you're not. Period. You're not selling. Make no mistake about it. You need to be first, second page on Amazon to be able to see sales come in organically. And so JumpSend and Viral Launch will generate enough sales that you'll move up the ranks, hopefully to the first page. Okay.
Mhm.
And that will keep you, afloat. At the same time, what those 2 platforms do is give you a chance for people to buy your product and give you reviews. Believe it or not, people are more likely to buy a product with a bad review than one that has no reviews. And so, and again, think about the way you behave and you'll understand the logic behind it. So you rather understand what the issues are than be a guinea pig and not know if it's going to be a good product or not. So those 2 platforms will help you generate reviews. Of course, I think Amazon frowns upon this, but you will ask God in the world that you know to please make a purchase, and if you like the purchase, please give me a review. And so that, kind of standard. But there's one more thing that you have to do at the same time, and that is to run a PPC campaign. You see, Amazon inside its own system has an advertising platform, so you pay per click. And you would identify keywords that are associated with your product, and you would tell Amazon, hey, Amazon, every time someone runs this query, I am willing to bid for that to be shown. Okay, I'm willing to bid for clicks. Usually the clicks, I mean, they range anywhere from 10 cents to more than $1 per click. And every time you go on Amazon, you see sponsored product. There's like a little sign somewhere that says sponsored. If you click on it, that is costing the seller money. Amazon has, generally speaking, two kinds of PPC campaigns. You have the manual and you have the automatic. To get the keywords for the manual campaign, I recommend that you use a platform like Jungle Scout. In Jungle Scout, if you type in one term, it will tell you what are all the terms that have been looked for in real life that are associated with your keyword. And so in my case, doormats, you would think, how many keywords could there be for doormats? More than 500. Okay. Of course, not all 500 are as useful. So that's where the analytic and an analytical thinking kicks into gear here. You are going to upload all those 500 keywords onto Amazon, and and Amazon will tell you, here's how much you should be bidding for each one to win the bid. So you need to be very aggressive at first and make the number super high, and so you win as often as possible your bid. And then you're monitoring the results, and you'll see that some keywords will be very good for you and others will be terrible for you. I've had keywords that have generated thousands of dollars in sales, but I've turned them off because the cost of running them is outpacing how much money I'm making from them. Amazon has a name for this relationship between the price of the product and the cost of advertising. They call it the ACoS, advertising cost of sales. And so you typically want to find products that the ACoS is 30% or below. So let me explain what this means. You want products where you can afford to pay up to 30% of the retail price in advertising and still either break even or make a profit, okay? The higher the number, of course, the better. If you can afford an ACoS of 50%, kudos to you. You're my hero. That's awesome. But be careful. Oftentimes, you may find yourself in a situation where you can't afford more than 20%. 15 to 20% can be a challenge. I'm talking to you. I'm looking at. I get pings on my watch, and it's awesome because I'm getting pings from Amazon telling me that I'm generating sales on a specific product that I have to fill manually. I'll talk all about that in just a moment. And so these two things combined, so a platform that sells at a discounted rate and the PPC will help you make your product surface and come up in the rankings. What happens afterwards is very interesting. What happens afterwards, when you come to the first page, you start generating organic sales. When you sell organically, it is not costing you anything on PPC or no discounts, no nothing. So you're making a lot more profit of those units. And so you want to strike a balance between keeping some level of PPC going, because at some point you will kill the campaigns on Viral Launch and JumpSend. So the PPC will help you generate a little bit more sales that combined with the organic sales will keep you on the first page. I am blessed to tell you that my doormat, one of the doormats that I have, is 100% on organic sales, and we're still able to remain on the first spot in our category. But it's a very rare situation, very rare. And again, that's why I emphasize the word blessed to be in that position. But I know I'm being realistic that at some point I'll have to reactivate some kind of a PPC campaign because something will happen, and so it's something you have to continuously monitor, probably every day. Now let's talk logistics and brand registry. So whenever you identify a product that meets all the criteria that I described before, and you feel confident that you can solve the problem, how the product had to have some problems, and okay, here's how you can solve the problem, then you contact vendors, manufacturers of this product through Alibaba. That's the easiest platform to use. It's like the Facebook of manufacturers across Asia. They have a very benign system that will give you information on the manufacturer. They'll tell you how reliable they are. You'll be able to conduct all the business with that manufacturer within the Alibaba platform, and Alibaba will give you guarantees on purchases. If they try to rob you or trick you in some fashion, Alibaba will respond, and that's what makes Alibaba such a big player, massive player in this market.
Mhm.
You may be interested in knowing, so do I, when the when I buy inventory, is this something that I bring to my house and fulfill it from my garage? Or do I give this to Amazon? This chart shows you uh, what, how typically this is, other sellers handle it. We started off as, and let me explain the acronyms. I'm sorry, I should have said this before. FBA is Fulfillment by Amazon, and FBM is Fulfillment by Manufacturer, okay? So we started off as FBA, so everything was fulfilled by Amazon, but Amazon does have a inventory performance index that goes from 0 to 1,000. If you drop below 400, they start applying restrictions on the amount of inventory that you can have on their warehouses. So we had a product that was not selling as fast as we hoped. And so we had to remove that product from Amazon because we were being punished in that score, that inventory score, which would have affected all the other products that were selling well. So we had to remove it. And guess what? Right now it's physically sitting on my garage. And so those things that I was telling you about that are coming through my watch, they are sales that are being generated that I have to fulfill. So I am part of the 29% of Amazon sellers who have FBA, because I do have product on Amazon, but I also have a portion in my house, and I fulfill it myself. I would tell you that in my preferred world, I would shift entirely to fulfillment by me, but it would require me to have I did the math the other day with my business partner. We need to have a little more, probably we're 1 or 2 years out before we can actually, it would make sense to go and fulfill all our orders. And mind you, we pay a fortune nowadays for fulfillment. I mean, it's tens of thousands of dollars a month for fulfillment. So it is a good chunk of money. With that, I am confident that I can find a place to lease a facility and even hire someone to do all that work. Kind of like a little bit of horror stories about FBA, and to show you how the relationship with Amazon can go south very quickly. That inventory score from 1 to 1,000, we noticed how when the pandemic started, Amazon contacted us and many other sellers saying, hey, your product is not, what's the word I'm looking for, essential. And so because it isn't essential, we will take away your Prime badge. Prime badge means that you don't have to pay for shipping if you have Prime, and you get it in 2 days. We're going to take that away from you to focus on the products that are essential, that we need to get to distribute more efficiently through our logistics network. And we said, okay, everyone's going to go through the same. But guess what? Amazon, being who they are, they didn't take away the badge from their own products. So guess what happens? They go up in the rankings and they killed us, because what people were seeing on the listing is like, who am I going to buy from? From the listing that says that I'm going to get it in 2 days, or the listing down here that says doesn't have Prime and I'm going to get it in 1 month, literally 1 month. That's how long they were claiming. So guess what? Our sales velocity plummeted, and our inventory score, because we were selling less, started dropping. And so we were approaching 400, and we called Amazon and we said, hey, Amazon, you understand why this is happening. You have a Prime batch in your products. You took it away from us, even though you have the inventory. You're making it impossible for us to comply with your expectations of keeping the score over 400. Don't worry about it. We're aware of this problem. This is not going to affect you in the long run. Once we're over the COVID-19, we will give you a plan of attack to solve this issue. Great. Thank you. When the time came for them to present the plan, they said we were at that point at 380 or something. Oh, we're already back to business, back to normal. You have 2 weeks to bring your score back to 400, which, let me tell you, it's mission impossible. So what happened? We were punished that way, even though it was Amazon who caused the problem for us specifically by taking away the badge. And so we found ourselves in a position where now we had to find a warehouse in California that specializes in this kind of situation. So many people like us have inventory that cannot enter Amazon, but at the same time, you need to make a bulk purchase so you get the right price. So they hold your inventory, and you can assign how much goes into Amazon at a time, so you remain within the constraints that they give you. So I'm sorry for the long explanation to give you a little bit of understanding and perspective of how to manage inventory with Amazon. Let's see. Let me jump. Oh, brand registry. I didn't mention a whole lot, but let me quickly, before I jump into the case study, which is the big word that you have on the screen about doormats. With brand registry, because you're doing private label, you have to get brand registry for your product. If you don't, Amazon will take the liberty to do whatever the heck they want with your listing. What do I mean specifically? If you were to run out of inventory and you didn't have brand registry, anyone could hijack your listing and do whatever they wanted with it. The problem that I was saying that I had to call Amazon after this presentation is precisely pertaining that. That happened to us sometime last year, and they changed the picture on the listing and many other things. And to this day, I haven't been able to get rid of the picture. Appears in a very obscure circumstance when you make a purchase. And so I'm trying to get them to get rid of it. But the point that I'm trying to drive here is that the sooner you can register a brand that you know it's already being successful, the better. Don't do it before you are in the market. Ideally, you want to launch the product, see if it sells well, see if you're happy with advertising performance, if you're happy with a ranking, if you're happy with a profit. If all those things check off, then yes, you're okay to go and pursue a trademark. The trademark will cost you about $2,000. It will take about, I want to say maybe 5-6 months to be approved by USPTO. And then it will take a little longer, just weeks for Amazon to approve your registry. Okay, so but getting brand registry is critical. Okay, so let me move on to the case study. Okay, the case studies. I'll focus on the doormats first. So with the doormats, I found out using Jungle Scout that it was a product that had high demand with medium competition, which is great. I thought, I don't mind competition. I think I can beat them, but there's high demand. Okay. I'm wary of situations where they tell me, hey, this is a product with high demand and high competition. Think about, for example, cell phone covers. Ooh, that's a business that I don't really want to get into because that is extremely competitive, okay? The same as, for example, Apple Watch bands. Yeah, a lot of competition. So what problems did I detect? Oh, by the way, this is a product that, of course, had high sales velocity. The doormats had less established competition. So there were sellers on Amazon with less than 50 reviews who were in the top 10. And the average rating was in the top 10 was horrendous. Here's the problem. We had to go through, I want to say maybe a couple of hundred different reviews, and we categorized all the different problems that we were reading about into these things. People complained that because the doormat shipped folded and like rolled up in a box, it was difficult to get it straight onto the floor. Oftentimes it was smaller than expected, or it was too thin or flimsy, or it would break easily. Very often it had the wrong description, and something that really ticked people off, it was the fake photos. And so, and one thing that we learned is that people really cared about the design. I mean, they were willing to buy something that they knew had a terrible quality just because they liked the way it looked. So with all this information, we were equipped to assess, hey, can we do this? Can we fix this? Okay. And so here's examples of what we were seeing. This product these people are like the 800-pound gorilla in the arena of selling doormats. And look, they have 3.5 stars. as a rating, and I mean they were selling like crazy. And you probably can't tell from this picture quite well, but that hello doormat on that door is actually fake. It's not really there. It was superimposed with Photoshop. Here's a more obvious picture. Again, probably difficult to tell on from seeing this through a video presentation, but there's so much wrong with that picture. Everything is superimposed. The mat is not really there. The dog is not really there. The shadows are just completely off. I'm sorry to say, but the feet look awful. Almost looks like ingrown toenails. The floor looks dirty, looks worn down. That picture, to me at least, it doesn't sell. Okay, so we went on a mission. We said, okay, can we fix these problems? And we said, okay, it ships folded. Can we fix that? Hell yeah, we ship it flat. As simple as that. Is it going to cost more in shipping? You bet you bet that's going to be the case, and we have paid a fortune by shipping flat. But hey, it gives us a competitive advantage over everyone else. It's smaller than expected. You know what? We specify the size to the nth degree. Just about every picture that we show that describes the product, we specify the size in a very conspicuous manner. If it's too thin or flimsy, guess what? We're going to make it thick. Wrong description, we're going to give you the right description. We're going to go on a mission to tell you exactly what this product is. And fake photos, we're going to do real photos. I know it sounds corny, sounds stupid, it sounds obvious, but guess what? No one else was doing it. And so we swept right in and started doing it what we thought was the right way. So here's what we did. And this is, by the way, an old version. By then, we only had 43 reviews. I think we're approaching 300 at this point. So we have grown dramatically. And so we give you a description that is in fact, the description here has also been enhanced since then, but we give you a lot of numbers. We tell you the size, length, width, thickness. We tell you, you can see on the last bullet point, it ships flat, okay? The one thing that we did was innovative on this product is that we added, so you see the hello on top, we added below, when you flip it over, you lift it on that bottom picture, it says, looking for hidden keys, question mark. We thought it was like a quirky little things that we could add that would give us an edge, and we believe it has. I was telling you about the size. We're very obvious in the sizing. We give you the arrows. We give you the green color so it kind of pops out. We give you the material. We tell you how thick it is. And by the way, all this photographic work and graphic design work was done by myself. That's why I'm telling you that you need multiple skills to be able to run a business on Amazon effectively. Then, if you notice on the bottom left, there is a stamp. This is a stamp that we invented to battle the whole fake photo thing. So we said, this is a real photo, not a rendering. That is the entry to my house. That's my wife. That's my son standing on the actual doormat, the real thing. And so that people connected with that. Again, that's a photo of my house with the same label. And we started this campaign. If you notice at the bottom, there's like a text in black that says, doormats are the place where we kiss, hug, and smile. Let me explain why that is there. People nowadays, when you and I buy a product, we expect that product to perform what we expect it to do. I mean, it has. If you buy an iPhone phone cover, it's supposed to protect the phone. If it doesn't do it, you'll be extremely disappointed. But if it does, you're not really thinking much of it. I mean, that's the expectation. The brands that succeed nowadays are selling you a story. They're selling you a lifestyle. So we thought, okay, doormats are pretty mundane, but we thought, man, that's probably one of the most important parts of the house. That's where you greet people you haven't seen in a long time. That's where you hug people. That's where you kiss them. You're standing on that doormat when all those wonderful things happen. And so we built the whole campaign around that. Mm-hmm. And here's a close-up of the looking for hidden keys thing. So we brought life to this like simple doormat that otherwise would have been like blah, you know. Now, Amazon, again, I've told you, it's a love-hate relationship with them. They can be horrendous to work with. We developed 3 emails that would go out to the buyers. So when they first bought it, I'll read it to you quickly because it probably doesn't read well on the screen, but it says, hello, and then it would plug in the name of the buyer. You're officially one of our favorite people in the world. Thank you for buying our doormat. To us, doormats are so much more than doormats. Doormats are arguably the most important part of a home. Think about it. And then we give you all this list of all the things that happen on a doormat. I'll read kind of the first two so you get the gist of this. Doormats are the start. Doormats are the start of magical moments. Doormats are where laughter-filled evenings begin. And so we built this thing that's very heartwarming, very feel-good. You know, I want to make you feel good about the purchase that you just made. But I say, you know, when I was complaining about Amazon, they did not like that email. They asked me to take it down. They actually shut down my ability to communicate with buyers because of that email. And this one, oh, well, that's the actual tag that has sort of the same information. And so when they received the doormat, we would tell them, hello again, your name. We're ridiculously excited that your doormat arrived. In fact, we wish we could be there to open the box with you. But now that you have an awesome doormat, it's time to invite your friends and family for a visit. We took the liberty of including a dip recipe in this email so you can feed them and maybe even brag about your doormat. Amazon hated this email. Can you believe that? Talk about low intellectual coefficient. That's why I don't think Jeff Bezos is the most brilliant man in the world. He is by success, but not by this. If he's not smart enough to recognize how brilliant this email is, I'm sorry to pat my own back, then, you know, I don't hold you in very high esteem. But just to show you some of the intricacies and issues that I've faced with Amazon over the years. And that's the recipe. It was buffalo chicken dip. By the way, awesome chicken dip. Now comes an example. So that was a successful case, okay, where we're selling like crazy, and I'll give you numbers in just a moment. But now I want to give you a case where we applied the same logic and we didn't experience the same level of success. So, glow-in-the-dark stars. Notice what it says here: high demand with high competition. That should have been a red flag from the beginning. High competition is not a good environment to be in because, oh my God, you have to fight tooth and nail to be able to make it up the rankings. Mm-hmm. The main problems were the stars don't glow, the stars are too small, or they don't stick to the ceiling. These are three things that we could easily fix. I'm sorry, here. Okay. So they don't glow, we'll make them shine. They're too small, make them bigger. And they don't stick to the wall, by God, they will stick on that freaking wall, okay? Now, we did something really peculiar. In trying to solve the shine problem, we were trying to work with the actual stars to improve the phosphorus material that makes it shine. And I became like a scientist, like an expert on the field, trying to find ways to make those stars shine the most they would. But it came down to one thing. Ultimately, your perception and mine of what is a bright shine will be different. I may look at the stars and say, wow, that's a phenomenal shine. And you may look at the same stars at the same moment and say, no, that's not good enough for me. Add complication to this, not all rooms get the same amount of light. And so we couldn't control if this was a basement or a room that had plenty of light during the day to charge the stars. So we had to rethink how we would make those stars shine a lot. And that's what we came up with. And by the way, that's a competition. That's an example of what they sold. And we found the same manufacturer in China and we started making our own. That's ours. Mm-hmm. Now, you notice on the bottom right-hand corner of that box, there's a flashlight. That is a UV flashlight. We call it the Star Glow Booster. So we said, if we can control how these suckers shine, at least we can control that when someone buys them, puts them on the wall, and they shine that UV light on them, they're going to pop. They're going to look like it's going to be crazy awesome. And in doing so, we realized, hey, hold on. We can do something really cool with this. What if now with that flashlight, we can create a whole adventure around owning glow stars in a kid's bedroom? And so we created let me see if it's here. Yeah. So these are all the things that came with the product. We had 100 count of the big stars, 100 count of the medium stars, 1 moon. And you see on the right-hand side, there's a mission guide. That mission guide has invisible ink that you cannot see, only when you shine the UV flashlight. And those missions are like games that parents and children could play once they install the stars in the room. And to us, if you're not listening to this and excited about the product, then I don't know anything about marketing. That was a very exciting story. The problem, however, is that because it was high demand, high competition, it was very difficult to convey all this information that I'm telling you right now on a single picture on the buy box on Amazon. And so because of that, they were only watching, let me go back one more time. They were only seeing this picture, and that picture is not really telling you what the product was about. And unfortunately, Amazon, their rule is that the main picture on the listing on the buy box has to be white background with the product itself. And so we couldn't tell the story. And so because of that, over time, we had to kill that product. When I say kill from Amazon, our goal now, we're shifting now to sell to planetariums. Planetariums have been very interested in this product because it's a perfect match with what they do. So we're in the process now of engaging all these different planetariums, of course, at the worst possible time, because no one is visiting the planetariums nowadays, to sell this product. So results, let's talk results here, and this will bring us to the end of the presentation. The average monthly sales, not profit, but sales, is what you see on the screen. So most people sell about between $1,000 to $5,000 a month on Amazon. Profit margins are tight, so I wouldn't say that on $5,000 revenue you can live, because it's just a few $100s profit if you're lucky on that amount. I'm happy to report that selling my doormats puts me, depending because if I this year alone, I have stocked out twice in one of the best-selling products that I have. So when I don't have that product on the shelves, I am at $10,000 to $25,000 a month. And I'm sorry, I forget, $25,000 to $50,000 in revenue a month. When I do have the product on the shelf, I am closer to the $100,000 range a month. Wow. In fact, a little over $100,000 a month. Mm-hmm. So it is possible to do with one or only two products. Very feasible to do. Now, lifetime sales, we would be at, so you can see that most people are under $100,000 in sales per in the history of the company. We are definitely over that number. We are in the 11% range. So basically $1 to $5 million. We have only been around for less than 2 years at this point. Wow. But we have definitely, we're inching closer to the 5 million range.
Good for you. That's a
Thank you. It's been, oh my God, the trials and tribulations. It's been tough.
I remember when you started with the doormats.
Yeah, it's been, I'm happy that I've engaged in this experience. Had I known many of the things that I know today, I probably would have been a little more scared to go in, but I think it would have been a more fair way to enter. I wish someone would have told me all the things that I'm telling you before jumping in, because I would have been able to at least predict that they were going to happen. Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about an exit strategy. This is the kind of business that eventually you want to sell, and you have to do it at the sweet spot. Just so you know, the way Amazon companies are priced, it's very standard. It's almost like you don't even need to imagine what the number is. It's 35 to 40x of your monthly profit. Okay. So you don't want to get into market valuations that are more than, $5 million, because then it gets more difficult to sell the company. So, I'm telling you that within a few years, you probably want to, you want to grow that business, sell it. If you want to start again, you can. But, if you grow too big, 20 million, 30 million, it's more difficult to find a suitable buyer for that company. But that's a formula, 35 to 40x of your monthly profit. Mm-hmm. If what I've described sounds something like you want to do, you see a big QR code there on the screen, that will take you to a YouTube video from Jungle Scout. Jungle Scout will show you step by step. And remember, if you are awesome at following steps, if you are brilliant at following steps, they're going to show you every single step along the way to go from nothing to a strong business on Amazon. So that QR code will get you to that video. keep in mind that Jungle Scout's business is getting more sellers into the platform, so they will selectively reveal the challenges of selling on that platform. That's why I felt overly compelled to give you the ugly side of Amazon, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. With that said, let me stop my screen sharing here. Stop, and I should be back on the screen. Okay. And I don't look anything like the picture because COVID has made me grow like I feel like a Gia pet at this point, hair and beard. But I hope that information that I provided gives you enough, at least to get started on this adventure. It can be very rewarding, but again, at the same time, very challenging. And I wish everyone success doing this. I don't know if you have any questions, Connie, or any comments.
Yes. I got a bunch of questions. I don't know if you have time.
I do have time.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Yes, at least a couple. So first question that I have is when you mentioned that you want to sell the company, the exit strategy, who will buy the company? Amazon or somebody that is kind of looking after the successful companies in Amazon, or how does it work?
So great question, Connie. So not Amazon, or at least not necessarily Amazon. I haven't heard of anyone doing it. There are platforms out there that specialize in this very thing. They showcase businesses that are Amazon businesses that are for sale, and people go onto those platforms to buy. If I'm honest with you, I've been telling my business partner, hey, maybe we should consider buying an established business, because if you have something that is already going well and established, that's the ideal situation. That's why it's so easy to sell an Amazon business. And so, yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yes. And the other question is like capital intense. That was one of your points, and I know many people try to start without money. So what do you think will be a budget that somebody can start working with Amazon? Like,
Sure,
I know it depends on the price of the product,
of
but
course.
what do
No,
you
but it's
think?
a fair question to ask, because I asked myself that question many times, and there are ways that I can give you a fair answer. Uh, I like products that cost at least $15, because that way it's worth my time to sell a unit, because the profit will be worth my time. Okay. I sell doormats that are about high 20s, and they cost me about I mean, I'd rather not get into to that detail, but I sell them for yeah, mid to, sometimes on a good day I will be able to jack up the price to $32 or so. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, the glow in the dark stars were meant to be sold at $19. We ended up selling consistently at like $12. And I give you this perspective too, so that my numbers make sense to you. Um, and we have another product that it's again around the $30 mark. Those products that cost about $30 tend to cost about $5, generally speaking. Uh, it's really up to you how many units you want to bring as an experiment, and what kind of agreement you can strike with the manufacturer. So all said and done, I would say that here's the prices that I would factor in: the cost of the inventory, uh, all the peripheral costs, like if you had to make a prototype, the cost of the prototype, if you had to do certain kinds of registrations, like and I've said, don't do the brand registration, the trademark up front. Do it for later, but at some point you have to do it. I forget, there's other associated costs, to launch a product. The discount that you will have to give to launch will make you lose money, so you have to factor that in. And the cost of advertising will be about 30% of the total value of the inventory for sale. So I would say for one product, you need to be ready with $25,000 to launch. What my partner and I did, knowing that we were doing this, we started getting personal and business credit cards at 0% APR. We got a ton of those. We were ready. I mean, together we were like, I don't know, we probably had $500,000 in available credit with the credit cards. You know, we were hoping we didn't have to go that far, so we started using cash and then credit cards very aggressively to pay. And you need to have both, because some vendors, especially in India, they will not take a PayPal payment, nor will they take, you need to basically pay them cash. They will not take a credit card because of the cost of doing that. Their margins are so tight already that it would make them lose money. So you need to have both cash and credit card to be able to operate. And I would think for one product within that price range, you're looking at just that, about $20,000. I think would be reasonable. But let me emphasize that if you're successful and every time you sell one unit, you have to replace it with 2 or 3. So $25,000 becomes $75,000 very quickly.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And right now, I mean, we every time we have to make a new purchase order, ooh, my nerves cringe, because we're talking now, every single order is like tens of thousands of dollars, but we have gotten there. You don't have to start off. You can start off very small, with 25,000, you should be able to comfortably launch your product.
Awesome. Well, Lou, thank you so much for all the amazing information you give us today. I know it's a lot to cover, but this was really good. I like the fact that you told us the bad, the good, and the ugly. But I don't want to discourage anybody to start something in Amazon. You know, you were able to do it. Yes, you fail, but then you were able to just stand again, and I'm going to try again, and I'm going to crack that code, and I'm going to make it happen. And look at you, you're selling more than 1 million.
Yeah, I'm not particularly bright. I'm as average as they come. And if I can do it, anyone else can do it. I just felt compelled to kick it off in a very strong, sort of quote unquote negative manner for the reasons that you said. It's just, I think it's only fair that people know what they would be getting themselves into, especially if they watch the Jungle Scout videos, because Jungle Scout, in an effort to get more people interested in Amazon, they sugarcoat too much the challenges of working with Amazon. But you know, for during the pandemic, I broke sales records every day. At the strongest sales day, I sold 220 doormats in a single day.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
really? Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Well, many people is like in the house, organizing, cleaning, painting, changing stuff. And that's like, I did that. I paint my walls, you know, I was like getting like, I need to change stuff, you know?
I bet you and I and everyone else who did this had something in common. I was watching HGTV just about every day. So people are watching HGTV, and so they want to do things. And doormats is one of those inexpensive home improvement things. You know, it's going to cost you $30 to make your entrance look a little bit better. So that's what you have to think when you look for products on Amazon. And sometimes you're surprised. I mean, I thought it would be a what do you call it, seasonal product. No, they buy doormats every day of the year. I mean, January 1st sold a ton of them. But this is all information that you get from Jungle Scout, and it's information that it's data you have to understand how to process. So that's why I said you have to be analytical. If you're analytical, you're primed for success. If you say, I already have an idea this is going to be successful, no, not necessarily. So yeah.
And I believe it's time consuming, right? You have to be all the time like checking what's going on in your Amazon store, right?
You do, but here's the beautiful thing. Because it is web-based, you can choose when you do that analysis. And so most people work full-time. They get home, they have a time to rest, they have dinner, and then they'll hop on the computer for an hour each evening, maybe 2 hours, and do all the work that it takes. That's how my brother and I do it. And guess what? The only time you can communicate with India, with China, it's in the evening anyhow. So it's really not a big deal to have a job and do this at the same time. You know, does it take time? Sure, but you own your own time. And I'm happy to report for the first time my income with my profit and income coming in from Amazon is starting to rival my day-to-day work.
Wow.
It's starting to rival how much money I make on each one. So I again, I feel blessed, and I hope the trend continues. In my perfect world, I love my job, by the way, at the university. And my goal in life, I've said this for years and years, is to be able to continue teaching entrepreneurship as a hobby.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, we don't want you to go anywhere because we
No,
need
no, no, I'm not going anywhere.
we need you here. We need you all your lessons and practices and advice and tips to our, to do things better when it comes to studying companies. So,
Yeah.
well, Lou, thank you so much. I know you have to go. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for watching us again. Thank you. Bye bye.